What's up, Nerdgenic Nation? Superhero nerd Aaron Waller here, and today we're talking about a DC animated film that I had no idea about until less than 24 hours before its release, DC's Legion of Superheroes, and I'm going to let you know if it's worth the watch or another disappointment from DC. DC's Legion of Superheroes is the story of Supergirl, aka Kara, who's devastated by the loss of Krypton and struggles to adjust to her new life on Earth. Superman mentors her, and meanwhile she must contend with a mysterious group called the Dark Circle, who searches for a powerful weapon held inside the Academy's vaults. Now, this film takes place in the corner of the DC universe called the Tomorrowverse, which is the same as Superman Man of Tomorrow and Green Lantern Beware My Power, as is given by the animation style, but really nothing else other than Darren Criss reprising his role as Superman. The plot of the movie does not pick up from either of those films that I just mentioned, nor any other DC animated property that I could find, though it does give some information and exposition as to though we should have seen a film with those events, but maybe I just missed it and then I was just a bit lost there. But the movie itself actually wasn't as terrible as I thought it was going to be. It's based on the Legion of Superheroes comic of the same name that saw a wide variety of characters make the roster. It does end up giving a semi-interesting story to Kara having to come into her own in a sort of X-Men First Class meets Sky High futuristic school for heroes. And it's so apparent that they're making those parallels and draws, as they even have a teacher who's a real DC character called Timberwolf that's essentially just a ripoff of Wolverine. And despite the occasional eye roll of stereotypical moments, and once you get past some of the more teenage trope sequence story elements, this is one of the more enjoyable DC animated films for me as of late. Which is honestly kind of surprising, as a lot of what this film is, I would say, isn't my style or even my preferred cast of characters. That being said, however, this kind of makes Supergirl's story slightly more interesting, as the film isn't her following in her cousin's footsteps, which has always kind of been a bit of a contention for me with this character. The other sort of standout character for me was Brainiac 5, who's a clone of Brainiac. Now, I found him to be interesting for several reasons, but most of which because he's just simply a Brainiac. Not really your typical hero, but he was on the team in the comics, so no real surprise here if you're a fan of the books. But there are several things that I think contributed to taking this movie from being decent to being good. One of those being was getting to see a few more of the Justice League members, including The Flash and Batman, who was voiced by Jensen Ackles. I was honestly so happy to hear Ackles back as Batman, and not only hope that he returns as the character, but maybe be a bigger impact in the DCU, or at least the Elseworld stories, as this will probably be considered starting next year. If they can expand upon Ackles as Batman and potentially utilize him in this universe, it would add a whole new layer of awesome. I also really enjoyed how they managed to circle back on something in the story that I don't necessarily want to ruin here, just in case you do want to see this movie. But the direction some of the specifics were taken were pretty unique for this story, and I think might continue on the upcoming Justice League War-World movie, but there was also something that I totally didn't expect for this newly stylized DC animation. Take that for what you will, but it definitely surprised me. Now, I don't necessarily think that Legion of Superheroes is a movie that you need to rush out and buy to see as soon as possible. It's likely going to be on HBO Max within the next few months, and honestly you can probably wait to see it. But this was certainly a move in the right direction, especially for a majority of characters who aren't even in the top tier of DC, and for that reason the overall grade that I'm going to give Legion of Superheroes is a 7 out of 10. It's certainly not the best, but it was enjoyable enough for a pretty controversial and confusing time for DC. So those are my thoughts on the DC animated movie Legion of Superheroes, and now I want to hear from you in the Nerdgenic community. Have you seen Legion of Superheroes? If so, what did you think? And do you think Jensen Ackles is the Batman of the future for the DCU? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, be sure to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell notification so you don't miss out on any future videos from me or the rest of the Nerdgenic team. And also be sure to follow us across all social media platforms at Nerdgenic. That way you don't miss out on any special news, announcements, or articles at nerdgenic.com. But in the meantime, if you want even more video content from us, check out my video on Batman: The Doom That Came to Gotham trailer right over here. Or if you want to know more of the comic book history of various heroes and villains, check out the History Of playlist right over here. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. We really do appreciate it. We hope to see you in the next video.